Hi, how we doing? Okay. This is the title of the talk. I was really worried that people might actually walk out the moment that they heard the title, including cash flows or anything about business. I'm a little bit nervous about that, so hopefully we're going to get through it. Okay, I'll try and keep it really light. Before I do, I want to acknowledge the traditional custodians of the land, the Wurundjeri people, and I pay my respects to the elders past and present. I don't know if you can tell, I'm an immigrant. I have come to this country. I am really, really thankful to be in this land, what I've been able to achieve here, and the life that I live here is much better than what I could have had back home. And I note that their sovereignty was never ceded. This is Aboriginal land, always was and always will be. It's also my favorite piece of design, if you will, by Harold Thomas. It's really beautiful. The black representing the people, the red representing the land and the connection to the land, and the yellow with the sun and the energy protector, sorry. All right. Carlos. I already told you that I'm going to start and talk a little bit about business, so I appreciate you being so warm and you're nodding, you're going, yeah, okay, let's see where this is going to go. But before we do, I've got a little bit of a question. Are you over it? Well, we just got back from break, the day's kind of going well. I don't mean design outlook. Are you over going on a 2-week holiday and finding out that your project just got reprioritized? Are you over having your roadmap co-opted by somebody else and finding out that the direction you're going into is completely freaking different? Yeah. Were you part of that decision? No, that happens. What about the restructures? No? Yeah, okay. They've rebranded recently. Have you heard simplification? It's a simplification exercise. I love that. Every empty seat here was a simplification exercise. Yeah. Oh, we got too complex. Sorry. Get the fuck out. I'm over it. And I think that we've got a lot of challenges in the industry at the moment. Don't know how much we can solve all of those, but I think that there are some things that we can try, and we can take agency, and we can try and mature our practice to respond to those challenges. So that's what I'll try and do today. Before I do, I'm on stage, we're celebrating, it's my birthday. I'm joking, it's not my birthday. But my career has turned 20 this year, so survivor, right? Yeah, thank you. All right, that was me. I was a graphic designer working at agencies, couldn't afford a haircut, and you can see that that's 8 hovering art directors. That's an HR nightmare. I taught graphic design. That was a lot of fun. That's me with one of my classes and pants that are just far too tight. I had a micro studio in Collingwood working out of a shared space. It was a creative time. I loved it. It was a beautiful studio. I don't know why, but I decided then to go corporate and work in these offices, where I moved post-its around in really, really awesome places like ANZ, Ozfos, Bunnings, and now Team Global Express. The other thing that's happened is throughout my career, there have been a few different deaths of design, some more painful than others. Print design died, if anyone here was a graphic designer, right? That died. In fact, it took a really long, painful death. I was like, oh, we're still dying. No, we're not. You're definitely dying. Web design died multiple times. We had Flash design, you had the early sort of web designs, the Dreamweaver-esque type things. Graphic design definitely died. And I'm not calling out Canva, I'm just saying that about half of my budget died, because I wasn't that good, right? So it kind of eroded my my pipeline, if you will. Design thinking died. That was kind of a bit weird after COVID. We also killed UX design. I don't know why. But we seem to have done it. We're like, no, UX design is dead, now it's product. And now at the moment, with everything to do with AI, it's death of all design, right? All design is just going to die. But really, what I wanted to say, though, is in this ever-present moment of just, we're going from one terrible situation to another, design doesn't die, we don't die, we do mature, we do change, we do cop a few punches, but we just roll with it. Now, this is some of my folio back when I used to do graphic design. Not naive, but it was fun. I love this. This is a really, really beautiful time in my life. It was creative. I got to enjoy the craft. I just loved aesthetics. I loved being creative. I was so creative that I just put smiley faces on everything. That was like my shtick. I was like, yep, cool, that needs a smiley. As I went through, though, I wanted bigger challenges. So I would meet with my clients and I would, ask really tough questions like, what's the strategic significance of this project? Or, what problem are we really solving here? And they're like, dude, you're strategically giving me a sign. A coffee shop, people need to know where the coffee shop is. Like, strategically get them in the business, Like, I was like, right, okay, cool. I was stuck. Now, you know what these look like. These are design maturity ladders, right? Where we go from no design to, design at Apple, right? You're giving shape to things. You design the process, and then, you're a strategic designer and so forth. I always wanted to do strategy. I've never really cared that much about complex systems. I've never really cared that much about culture of design. I'm just very shoot me like an arrow, and I want to work out a cool strategy, how we can get there. But I was stuck. I was giving shape to ideas. I wasn't questioning the ideas themselves. I didn't know how to get there. When I did pop into human-centered design, and I told you I went corporate, it was great. It was a breath of fresh air. Things got bigger, more complex, but still, we weren't really being strategic. And maybe that was me. But it was very heavy on the process. And I don't know if you remember, trust the process, right? There was a lot of just trust the process, man. That's not what you want to hear from, imagine a doctor's just trust the process. I know what you're going to do to me. So that was fine, but it wasn't quite the strategic significance that I wanted it to have. At times in my career, my work and my teams and the people that I've worked with, we've broadened into that area. We've managed to hit some more strategic objectives, to actually get the business to think about things in a different way and make a really solid case about something. But it wasn't always the case, and often it's not as successful. Often they're not the ones driving it, and the risk is higher. Hence the "are you over it" comments. And lately, I found a little bit of this. I don't know if that resonates with any of you. Maybe this is the way that I'm looking at things, but things are a little bit shit at the moment. I'm not trying to bring you down, but design leadership has been eviscerated. We're not close to the C-suite. We're retreating back into what we know and not what we could be. And when I was thinking about this, maybe in a much more naive way, but I was thinking about this a few years back. I was like, why can't we work in this space, and why can't we be taken seriously? I was talking about this with a manager of mine who was not a designer. What can we do? Well, you don't need to learn more about design. You need to go learn about business. So I did, and I went all in. Very painful. No, I went to business school. I got an MBA. I made it my personality. I'm deeply sorry to anyone that I am friends with. Anyone, my partners in the audience, my friends, I'm so sorry. It became my personality. I literally, oh my God, it was amazing. Today I learned everything about David Jones. Not interesting. That was me, nerd. But it was a really interesting time. I actually got to know and work with people that were entirely different to me and entirely different to the designers that I work with on any given day. I worked with strategy people, consultants, almost the same thing, HR, let's see, who else? Marketers, right? I worked with a pilot. That is strange. Is awesome. But I learned a lot from them, but it was quite a different way of looking at problems. Very, very different to the way that we look at problems, right? And that was quite eye-opening for me. So I spent, nights, weekends, everything here. I was critiqued, I was pushed and pulled, and I learned a different skill set. I learned very little about a shit ton of things. So that's why I tend to not go into those things in a lot of detail. I don't pretend that, I'm excellent at any one of those. But it gave me a wider understanding of how maybe I can work with the business in a way that matters to that business. So it's not, oh, hang on, when I did strategy, let me just talk to you about this. It's just more, I'm now thinking, what's on their plate? And that's probably what I want to talk to you a little bit about. I found that when it came to strategy, because I had strategies that I wanted to get buy-in for, I wasn't pitching them in the right way. Our strategies needed a compelling why and a very simple, coherent how. That sounds like, all of a sudden you're like, dude, get out. But it's harder, right? When you actually read up on it, it says, strategy is like where to play and how to win. Where to play being like the customer segment, the product type, the market. We don't design that half the time. We work within services, within products, within businesses where all of this has been decided for us. Doesn't mean that we can't, but often it's our rationale that really counts. You have a good idea and you can really back it up. And then on top of that, you've got a good plan of action. So kind of unpacking that a little bit more. We're really great at the very first part. We're customer-centric. We're all about customer pains, needs, etc. We've got it. This is going to get us there. How that connects to a business objective, though, we're a little bit less solid on. In fact, we tend to tack that on at the end. A bit uncomfortable, but it's true. Then do we actually connect that with the work that the business is doing is another thing entirely. Often we're looking for approval from our stakeholders as opposed to meaningful collaboration. And we don't like math, so we don't like to actually quantify. And I know it's probably like, ooh, but I definitely didn't do it. A lot of people still think maybe it's someone else's job to do. That's for the data team. That's for the product manager. But it's not hard to actually identify what your work is worth. So there's three things that I want to talk about today, right? So first, starting with the aims of the business, aligning to those activities within the business, and then obviously putting a number to it, giving it like a nice shape. So starting with the business aim, why? The way that I've done things in the past is I've been within let's say a product or a service, and I go find out everything that there is to find out about the customer experience within that area. This is the pain points, here it is, I got the thing, this is definitely the biggest one, this is the truth of the matter. I think if we fix this, we're going to fix it this way, and we're going to have squillions of dollars. And the business just didn't connect with that because it's not the way that they think. That's not the rationale, the way that they actually look at problems. So whilst some cases it might work, it's a little bit like a shot in the dark. You might improve a user experience when it comes to how they use a product on a day-to-day, but it might not make more sales. It might actually reduce contacts in the contact center. Great, but that's not what you were aiming for. Very simply, what I'm suggesting is that we flip it and we start with that business need. Now, I know a lot of people do it. This is called just getting a really good brief, right? We're going back to basics. But if you do this, you're actually working with your stakeholders to identify what is your North Star, what is the thing that you're really wanting to deliver. Do we agree on those goals and how can we go about it? That's stakeholder collaboration, not stakeholder management. Nobody wants to be managed. It sucks. If you've ever been managed, it's shit. Now, the next two things that I want to talk about, really, I'd like to do that together. Right? I think they kind of go hand in hand. How we align our work to the work that is already occurring within the business. And then, obviously, how do we tack that value to it? Every business unit or every team is trying to do their thing in that business to win, so to use that parlance, right? They're trying to win in their own way. Sales, trying to make some sales, man. Like, contact centers, they're trying to get less calls or answer them more quickly and have better outcomes for the people contacting them. Operations, so I work in a shipping company. Operations, they're trying to drive essentially transport the product more efficiently. They're trying to make sure that they get there first time, not second time, third time, etc. Right? Often, when I have designed, I've come in as a plus to what they're trying to do. I say, hey, that's really great what you're doing, but I've got an idea, and here's a digital thing or a service, and I think that we can just tack it on top, and it's going to make your life different. And that's not what they're doing. They've got a different aim entirely. So it's a framework that I want to share with you today. It's just a bit of a leave behind. It's really old. It's from 1992. So let's just say that maybe it's not widely used anymore. But it's called the Balanced Scorecard. But I really like it because it's a little bit of the left brain, right brain. It's actually used by companies as like a financial management tool, right? We're not going to worry about that. We're going to say, how do we recontextualize this to make sense to us? And I really like it because you literally have the designy bit, strategy map, with the numbery bit, the measures. In there is actually your why, and then your how. So you start from the business rationale. You connect it to a customer problem, connect it to an activity that is occurring within the business, and then your idea, your project, the piece of value that you're trying to do. That's a coherent plan, right? On the right, when you give it measures and you give it some form of numbers and values, then you're talking their language. And what you end up creating is, in essence, a business case, which designers tend to not freaking get exposure to, and it's a shame. Just want to go into that in a little bit more detail. Let's just say you're a supermarket. You've got an online store, you're Coles, Woolies, one of those. You're killing it. You're making tons of sales. But your costs are going up because a lot of people are contacting you. They've got problems. So you want to decrease those costs. As part of that, you're selecting customer needs. Clearly, those customers need improved support when they're shopping or after shopping. There's an internal process of how do you triage those customers. So you've got a simple question over here, right? It gets spat out straight into some form of chatbot. Very simple, done. You've got an important query. Oh, geez, we're going to hightail you over here to a human that's going to sort that problem straight away, right? Triaging. But in order to do that, your project, you need a next-gen AI chatbot, whatever it is. Now, I've chosen that because everyone's working on chatbots at the moment. On the right, on the right, I'm making sure I'm looking at the right way. Your measures. Now, I have heard a few different times that defining that measure is someone else's job. It's not entirely wrong, but I definitely think that it's within our job to put the first number. When we're designing, if we go through and we use some very simple math to see an opportunity, I think it's within our role to actually put that out there. Have you ever heard how in negotiations, you heard the term anchoring? You know what that is? So when you put the first number, it's like you anchor it there. It makes it very difficult for someone else to shift that perspective. You know, you're in a job interview and they're like, what do you want? And you're like, 250. And they're like, oh, geez, we were thinking like 130, but now they're the unreasonable one because you put it there up in 250. I don't get paid 250, but I'm just saying. You can do the same thing. this is a simple example. You can work with your stakeholders. How many calls are we getting? Oh, great, cool. But 300,000 calls. Okay, cool. What is that across, chat and phone, right? Oh, cool. Even split. Oh, brilliant. Let's get rid of the phone calls. They're really expensive. Chat, you've got people answering 3 chats at once. The phone calls, it's one person at a time. It costs us $7 each one. Simple multiply, value. How do I use this? I've got a project, large project. It's basically an app. You know what apps are like. They need multiple parts of the business to all work in sync. I've given value to a lot of different parts of my app. Not everything can be identified. These are fake numbers, by the way, before I get fired. Not everything can be identified in value, right? But the more that you can give a number to something, the stronger that your case becomes. Now, everyone here has prioritized at one point in some way, shape, or form. That looks very different when you've got a number that you've put forward. You're like, oh, that's all well and good. Like, you want to remove that, that's fine. But, you're about to lose 3 mil. Plus, that's Jenny's work over there in the green dot where you've aligned it, right? And that's such and such's work over here that you're about to deprioritize. So, do you really want to pick a fight with them? I'm not talking about how we should design, I'm talking about how we should communicate to the business. So there's only one more thing that I just want to leave with you, and it's that we just lean in. I just want everyone to just to try it. I think this is the thing that we need in order to mature a craft and to actually develop the way that we're going. We need to respond to some of these challenges and just try something new. Thanks.